Hi. So, as some of you may know, I live in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Really great city. Anyone who's ever visited here or lived here will tell you that. But one kind of crappy thing about it is that we only have one theme park around, and it's called La Ronde, and it's kind of trash. Much like everything else in the city, it was built way back for the Expo 67, but these days it's owned by Six Flags. So if you've ever been to a Six Flags, it's basically that, but French. It has a really rocky history though, that's why I said it's trash. Listen to this, there's this one building there that was built way back before the park, but then the park was kind of built around it. It's still there, but this building used to be part of an aquarium that, among many other things, housed a group of performing dolphins. So as the story goes, in the 80s there's this big worker strike, and included in the picket lines are, you guessed it, the dolphins. I'm kidding, obviously, though I bet they wish they could have been there because they would have been closer to the half a dozen trainers responsible for feeding them. So you can probably tell where this story's headed, but basically, with the strike lasting over a month, by the time the trainers came back, the dolphins had just wasted away. Now, that's the dramatic version of the story that people like to tell for shock and awe. The real version of the story involves the fact that there were people there trying to feed the dolphins, just the dolphins were trained to follow a specific feeding schedule, and they wouldn't eat if it wasn't people who they were familiar with feeding them, and that's why they didn't eat. And technically one of the dolphins did survive, but also one of them was found dead at the bottom of the pool, and also it was pregnant. But, you know, any story that involves 3 dolphins dying is shocking enough, in my opinion. I really wanted to commit to making this whole video from the ground, but I realized that, I would have to crouch into the mic, and now my back hurts, so I don't know how long this is gonna last. And this building still stands. The park was built around it. They didn't demolish it or anything. In fact, you can go there and you can play video games because now it's called the Nintendo Zone, or at least it was. Truth be told, I haven't been there in years, but I remember they used to have special events there. There was a big Nintendo sign. When the Wii U launched, I went there and I played, what was it, that party game that came out on it, Wii U, Nintendo Land, that was it, and I played the Zelda game for 30 seconds, and I was like, that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know, I feel like if I were in charge, I wouldn't have built my theme park around a building haunted by dolphin ghosts. To be real, ever since I heard that story, I have not visited La Ronde. Not that it had any effect on it, it's just coincidental, so I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I'm just saying I haven't been there, and I also heard the story. I'm making no statement right now. I hope you know that. And now, from an awful tragedy to something significantly less important. The reason today I'm saying that La Ronde is a little bit trashy, and that is the subject of today's video, the facilitation of theft. So picture this, you go to an amusement park and you get your phone stolen. Oof! Could you have done something about it? Yeah, you could have chased the dude. Except, you were on a roller coaster. Whoops. So if you've ever had anxiety and you've ever been to a theme park, you've probably had anxiety at a theme park, and it was probably because you were worried people were going to steal your stuff. Now, to be clear, I haven't been to La Ronde in years, so I don't know if they've already solved this issue, but in my opinion, even in the best case, if they solved this literally the day after my last visit, it would be too late. So at La Ronde, and assumably many places like it, the way it works is you get up to a ride and you see a train labeled A, and you pass through the gates and you put your bags in this little wooden cubby, and then you get on the train labeled A and you leave. And then what happens is, while you're on your ride, a train labeled B comes back into the station, and a bunch of people who were on the ride while you were preparing to get on yours get off their ride, and they go to the same little cubby and presumably collect the belongings that they put in the cubby before you got on the ride. Before they got on the ride also, and then they leave, and then more people get on the ride, the whole thing starts over again. The train labeled A, which has you on it, returns to the station, you get off, and go back to the cubby, which presumably has your belongings that were not stolen by people who now have a 3 to 7 minute lead on you. And here's the problem. When you put all of the stuff you're carrying into one of those dusty splinter boxes, which often you do because you have a lot of stuff because it's very hot and you can't carry sunscreen in your pocket, and you also don't want to carry your phone in your pocket because you know it'll fall out during the roller coaster. And even if it doesn't, when the guy comes and he pushes that metal bar on you and it crunches all the contents of your pockets, you want to make sure that the phone is not one of the contents of those pockets. When you do that, when you put your stuff in there, you're taking a gamble with absolutely no security. You have no idea what the people in front of you are going to do when you're not there. The park takes no responsibility for lost or stolen goods, and the people who are operating the ride are doofy high school kids who, number one, couldn't watch your stuff even if they wanted to because they process queues of hundreds and hundreds of people a day. Two, they don't care because they're doofy high school kids, and even if you ask them to, they wouldn't because they're doofy high school kids. And three, they get paid so little. If one of the other park goers doesn't steal your stuff, it's beneficial for them too. So what's the solution? Do what Canada's Wonderland does. Christ, that park used to be so cool. It used to be called Paramount subtitle Canada's Wonderland. Now it's just Canada's Wonderland because I guess Paramount backed out. The thing was that it used to be like all film themed. That was the gimmick. A few years ago when I went to visit Niagara Falls and realized there was nothing to do in Niagara Falls and ended up taking a day trip to Toronto to see the park again, I realized that Paramount had left, even though the park has like a giant Paramount Mountain in the back. Like Paramount isn't involved anymore, and all of the rides that were film themed are now just like generic things. So like the Top Gun ride is now just like cool fighter jet roller coaster ride, and it's like, oh, come on. There used to be like the children's section was like all Nickelodeon themed, so you had like SpongeBob stuff, and you had like Jimmy Neutron, because Jimmy Neutron had just come out, and there was this ride where you were like in the eggs from the movie, and now they replaced it with like Snoopyville, and the egg ride is now like pumpkins, but you can clearly tell that they used to be eggs and they're just painted orange. It's super goofy. But anyways, when I had gone back a couple of years ago, I was blown away by the simplicity of this solution they had to the issue of theme parks facilitating theft. And again, I don't know if La Ronde already does this, but again, even if they do already, I think it's too late, my dudes. So what they do at Paramount, whatever, I'm gonna call it that, but what they do there is for each set of trains that are simultaneously running, the operator has next to them a box. So say there are two trains again, A and B. Well, the operator next to them has two boxes labeled A and B. So train A is at the station, you go through the gate, you take all your stuff, and the operator opens a box labeled A for you where you put your stuff. The operator closes the box, you get on the train, and the operator locks the box. Then your train departs, you enjoy your ride. While you're riding, train B returns to the station. The participants, the riders, what do you call them? People who, I guess riders of a roller coaster, whatever. The riders of train B get off the train and they come back to the operator, to the gate where they have to exit, and the operator goes to box B, which is locked, unlocks it, they collect their stuff, they have no access to your box, the operator closes the box, they leave, another session of people come, whatever, your train returns, train A returns, you come back, operator opens the box A, unlocks it, you collect your belongings, you see everybody else on the train also collecting their belongings, and then you leave. And that's it. It's as simple as that, my friends. The solution is perfect because it ensures that only the people allowed are able to manage the contents of a box, and when anyone else is managing them, the people whose contents are or whose belongings are in that box also are able to monitor their behavior. So the operator themselves doesn't actually need to be responsible. The doofy high school kid doesn't have to do anything. You're responsible for your own security. If someone steals your stuff, it's because they stole it right under your nose, and then you should feel bad. It's not because they stole it while you were on a roller coaster traveling 1 billion miles an hour, going through, not Tom Cruise land. The idea is that if somebody's going to do something sneaky, they're going to do it directly to you. They're not going to do it while your pants are down. Look, we live in a world where you can't trust anyone. Everyone is out to fucking kill you. I mean, even me. So it's good that Paramount has this great solution that allows you to lock your stuff away and have peace of mind while you ride the Italian Job. Sorry, I mean the backlot stunt coaster. Okay, wait, hold up. I'm watching this video on their site, right? And this is not actually how the roller coaster goes. So back in the day when it was based off the remake of the film The Italian Job, what happens here is at one point, first of all, the roller coaster is a bunch of Mini Coopers, and it looks really cool, and they're all stylized, they have decals and everything. And you come to this one part, and the coaster comes to a complete stop. In the video, it shows that it slows down and then it passes, but what happens is that it comes to a complete stop, or it used to come to a complete stop. And then this helicopter over here, it's not just sitting there, it raises from the background on like a mechanical arm or something, and then there's like an audio clip from the movie playing, and all of these barrels over here are on fire, and then it like, I guess it's implied that it like launches a missile or something, and then one of the barrels like explodes, like this is an actual explosion we're talking about with like fire. It's controlled obviously, but it's really, really cool, you know, cool pyrotechnics while you're on the roller coaster, and then the cars continue down the tunnel. Except like a year and a half ago when I went, what happened was it didn't just skip this part like this video seems to imply. Number one, first of all of the cars had their decals removed, so they didn't even look like Mini Coopers anymore. They just looked like bars of soap in the shape of cars. And then what happened was it did stop at this point, but I guess because it's not movie themed anymore, they can't play the audio clip or do the special effects or anything, so it stopped. What happened was I was riding the roller coaster, it stops at this part here, and then it just like waits the duration of like the set piece, and then the roller coaster just continued, and I was just laughing because it was so fun, like because nothing was happening. There were no sound effects. It was just like the roller coaster comes and then it just stops, because I guess it's hard to like modify the behavior of a roller coaster, especially if there's like two running at the same time, so they just kept the original routine, but it stops here, and it's so stupid. Like this Paramount used to be so cool, and now, I mean, it is still really cool. It has like really fun attractions and rides, but like some stuff is just really goofy without like the film theme, because like some of the rides would not have existed without the inspiration that inspired them. I'm out. So moral of the story, tit for tat. If a bad boy slaps you up, you whoop his little bum. You take your belongings and you put them in a locked box. And if even a single dolphin dies in a building, destroy, just take it down. Don't put a dozen Wii U's in there. That just makes me feel really, really weird. Also, PSA, this might be interesting to you, but when I was in Niagara, I also went to Marineland, and I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding these sorts of parks, SeaWorld included, and it seems like SeaWorld often seems to be the one that you hear about in the press all the time. But after reading the Wikipedia page for summary, there's like a summary of controversies surrounding Marineland. I don't even know if I want to talk about this, but all I want to say is that actually being there, it really wasn't what I expected, especially after, you know, having grown up and you see all the ads for it on TV all the time, and it like you want to go there because, you know, everybody loves Marineland, right? It felt less like an attraction and more like walking into a nature reserve or like the lab of like a marine biologist or something. I mean, first of all, you walk in and it's just like a giant forest. Like there's no clear roads, there's no clear paths. It's kind of just like a giant forest, and you're just walking, and it can be like 20 minutes before you see any sort of structure other than like the front gates that you just came in through, and you're just going, and like the first thing I saw was this giant like field of land with like this tiny fence that people could look through, and there were just easily like 100 deer just like loose, just like wild deer just like running around in the park, like having a good time. And then afterwards there was like this giant like bear habitat, and there were like, again, easily like 20 to 40 bears, just like these giant bears that were in this, and they were like, it wasn't like a cage, it was like the people were on a platform and you could look down and see the bears, and they had like a whole habitat for themselves. It wasn't like a zoo, it was like somebody found the natural habitat of these animals and built like a safe passage for people. You know what I mean? And then like when you hit the big ones, obviously the whales, you would go to the whale tank or the whale habitat, I don't know what to call it, and there's like orcas and there's dolphins and stuff, and you go in and you don't see like a bunch of people freaking out over the dolphins and tapping on the glass. You see like a sign saying, "Be quiet, this is a work environment." And when you show up, there's like a desk, and there's like a person standing in front of the glass who has like a notepad, and she's like writing notes, and she's like a marine biologist or like a veterinarian or something, and she's sitting there and she's just monitoring all the animals, and she has like a scuba suit right next to her, and she's like ready to dive in at a moment's notice and help these animals. And it's not like, I mean, there is the show, but there's also like next to her there's like a sign saying all of the scheduled times that she has certain duties that she's going to do, like when she's going to wash them, and when she's going to do a medical examination, and when there's like playtime, and that's when like the kids can come and they can play with the animals and stuff. But it's like it really wasn't like a, other than the show, the animals there weren't like on display. They were like, there were people there who were working on them, but working with them and working to take care of them and preserving them, because a lot of these animals have like really weird health complications. Arguably some of them are a result of the environment that they're living in, that's not natural, but you know, when you have endangered species like this and there's like one beluga birth in, you know, whatever, and there's like this one calf beluga, and this woman is like watching it because like she's a doctor and she needs to like watch this thing because the species endangered. It's like different than like just looking at a bunch of fish behind glass, you know. It's just it was not what I was expecting. Now the show, the thoughts you have and like how disturbed it makes you feel is like a function of how impressive it is, because seeing how incredibly well trained these animals are kind of makes you realize how intelligent they are, and it kind of like brings into question like, how do people train animals to do certain stunts that like they can't perform for, like how do you teach like a beluga whale how to like push you around in a pool like really fast and like jump? Like, how do you do this stuff? It's because these animals are incredibly intelligent, right? That's the only way the show can be as good as it is. But the fact that like these things are just these living things are sitting there doing this for you is like really, whoa, really weird. Look, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I think what I'd like to say is that, look, it wasn't what I expected. Number one, there's only like 3 rides in the entire park. That's it. The rest is just nature. It made for a really, really nice walk. And yeah, the ticket was like super, super cheap. And if even $1 of it went to the salary of the person who was sitting in front of a window watching a baby whale ready to go like swoop in and like pull it out of the water and like perform God knows what sort of medical procedures on it in case of an emergency, if like even $1 of that ticket that I paid for went to like that person's salary, or the salaries of all the people who really care. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, when you hear about all the controversies, oftentimes it has to do with the people in charge and not the people who are like on the front lines. The people on the front lines have their hearts in the right place and they have their minds in the right place, and that's what matters. And I feel like when you spend money on something like that, yeah, some of it goes to some people who might not have the best intentions, but some of it does go to these people, and I think that that's good. Like, Mother Nature is this crazy, cruel thing, but like, I don't know, maybe what I'm trying to say is like, to me, it didn't feel like you could come out of there with less of an appreciation of nature and marine life. My experience going to Marineland was, it kind of made me feel like going to Marineland is the sort of thing that makes you want to protest things like Marineland. I think I've talked more about dolphins in this video than anything else. That's all. In case you couldn't tell, by the way, this whole video is absolutely not serious. Just an excuse for me to test out my microphone on a full production. I wanted to have a video from beginning to end, complete, no just streams, no audio test, nothing, just fully video out on something stupid, whatever. It turned into this. I hope you enjoyed it, because, you know, I've been told that I have very strong opinions about the sorts of things that people don't tend to have very strong opinions about. And also, I don't know what it's actually going to sound like, because as I started doing this, someone in the building started doing their laundry, and I can hear the laundry machine. I don't know if this can, but I have a feeling it can, so I might have to do some sound canceling. But take the last stream we did as an example of what the audio should sound like in the future. Anyways, that's all, folks. See you later. Goodbye.